welcome America to New York City. And thank you for joining us live streaming across the internet. We appreciate you. There's thousands of you who are holding thousands of house parties or gatherings across the country tonight. And there's anywhere from 2 to 30 people. I know there are some churches and union halls and others who've got 100 people there. So there's untold tens of thousands of people across America tonight who have either just watched this film or just joined us here for this live discussion and question and answer session. So thank you for that. And we have an audience with us here on West 23rd Street in New York City. The security people said don't give out the address. I know. It was like it was irony built on top of other irony. So, anyways, I want to introduce our panel that's going to be here with us tonight, and I'm going to say a few words. They're going to say a few words, and then we're going to take your questions. The main thing we want to come out of this evening is action. We are tired of talking about this. I'm tired of it. I made this movie. Actually, I started making this movie 14 years ago, and so the time is now for action. The people that are gathered with us here in New York, that's what we want to do, and we know that you at home feel the same way. So we're going to talk about some specific things that we can do tonight about this problem and what we can do this week. But first, let me introduce to you the people that are here on the panel. Next to me here is Rob Wilcox. Rob's cousin, Laura Wilcox, was shot to death in Nevada City, California, about 12 years ago, somewhere, I think in there, 12 years ago. She was a college student, and during her holiday vacation, Christmas vacation, she'd like to go down and volunteer at the social work, the county social work and mental health services. And one day, the brother of a local police officer decided to come in and try and kill as many people as he could there, and he took her life. And Rob has been a strong advocate for gun control for the last decade or so. He's her cousin, and we're honored to have you here tonight. So thank you very much. Jamie Pesson is with a group that is formed across the country. It's called Moms Demand Action. And this is a group of parents. I have to say that I've received a lot of letters since Newtown from different people about this subject, about the tragedy that happened in Newtown. And there became a recurring theme in these letters, and that was that parents now, since December, when they drop their kids off at school in the morning, have this horrible feeling. They don't want to really say it out loud, but they've written it to me, and I've read it. I can't tell you how many letters I've read this, where the mother or the father says, now I have this horrible feeling when they get out of the car and I watch them walk down the sidewalk and into the school building. I have to now sit in my car and ask myself, is that the last time I'm going to see them? Nobody in this country should ever have to feel that way taking their kids to school. And so thank you, Jamie and the others who are here with Moms Demand Action, because I think that this is where we're going to succeed, by organizing parents who are sick and tired of this continuing in this country. Next to Jamie, we have Lori Haas, who's here from Virginia. And her daughter was shot during the Virginia Tech mass shooting, the largest mass shooting at a school in our history. And I think 38 students and how many? 32 students and some faculty died. Lori's daughter was shot twice in the head. In spite of that, she was able to get on her cell phone, call 911, and keep the phone open while the shooter was killing people in the classroom, so that the police could find their way in there. Amazingly, Lori's daughter survived and is a real hero of that day. And at the bottom, we have my fellow Michigander, who now lives in Washington, D.C., Garland Gilchrist, and he is the National Campaign Director for MoveOn.org. Thank you very much. So I'm going to say a few words, and then we're going to put some things up on the screen here about the action that we can take. But I'd like to just share with you some of the things that you can talk to your neighbors, your coworkers, friends, family, fellow classmates. We are the majority, the people that are against this gun violence. We're not the minority. And but murder has been around since Cain and Abel, and we'll never eliminate all murder, but we can drastically reduce it, as they have in almost every other first world democracy, by passing some very simple laws: an assault weapons ban, a ban on high-capacity ammo magazines, background checks on everyone who buys a gun, and more free mental health services in this country. As Yoko Ono pointed out earlier this week on the Piers Morgan show, over 1 million Americans, specifically 1,057,000 Americans, have been killed by guns since John Lennon was shot and killed in this city on December 8th, 1980. 1,057,000 murders, suicides, and accidental shootings. This is appalling and shameful, and it must end. There are almost 100 million Americans, though, who own guns. 100 million Americans. That means there's 200 million Americans who don't own guns. The NRA has over 4 million members. That means there's 304 million Americans who are not members of the NRA. We are the majority, and we should start acting like it. Most importantly, the politicians had better start treating us that way and immediately start responding to the will of the people. It should be noted that 99% of gun owners will never commit a violent act with their gun, and if you're watching and you are a gun owner, let me say this: nobody wants to take your guns away. Nobody wants to stop you from shooting Bambi. That's not what this issue is about, and you know it. And that's why even a majority of NRA members now want these background checks, want these bans or controls on the amount of bullets that can be in these magazines. Because you see, I'm coming from Michigan, and as someone who, I have a gun, and I hunted, since I probably was 10 or 11 years old, which I look back on it now and I think about how crazy it was. Our parents let us go out with a .22 rifle in the field and shoot pheasants at 11 or 12 years old. Anybody who is a hunter knows this. You don't need 30 bullets to shoot a deer. You don't need 100 bullets to shoot a deer. If you do need 100 bullets to shoot a deer, let me say as a hunter, please get out of the woods. You are a serious danger to all of us. So we want to join hands with all NRA members who are sane and rational and believe that we should have sensible gun control laws in this country. So here's what the recent polls have said since Newtown. 57% of Americans, 57%, want assault weapons banned. 91% want background checks on all gun purchases, including all gun shows. Every single piece of proposed gun legislation now has the majority support of the American people. There's no excuse for Congress not to pass these laws. It took Great Britain and Australia only one gun massacre with victims in the dozens for each country to have their legislators pass strict gun laws. We have had almost 30 of these gun massacres just since Columbine, and 0 gun laws. The total number of murders in Britain in 2010, 27. In Australia, 30. In Japan, 11 in 2008. 11 people in a nation of 100 million people. So I just want to close here by saying, before we open this up, that I think we're better than this. We're Americans. For over 200 years, people have chosen to come here to escape violence and depression, and to live a better, happier, and safer life. We need to pause and examine why we use so much violence, and why it seems to be a matter of our government's policy, starting with unnecessary wars, the death penalty, why it took forever to pass a domestic violence bill when every 15 seconds in this country a woman is assaulted. Every 15 seconds. We live in a violent country. We are a violent people. And maybe the first step in this is to admit that it's not just random crazy people who are violent. We have it as our national policy to solve, as the kids in Canada said, why do you just want to solve all your problems through violence? That's, I think, one of the most important questions, because I think we've created this culture that won't change, even as much as we all want these gun laws to pass, and they need to pass, and someone's not going to be able to go into a schoolroom and massacre so many kids with these big magazines of bullets. But ultimately, unless we address the other issues of poverty, racism, mental health, and these things that create the climate and the culture for going to the methods of violence that happen in this country, I don't think ultimately we're going to fix the problem. So I think this is my own personal feeling, and you just saw it in the film, that I think that there's a larger issue that we need to continue to deal with. Tonight, we're here to discuss a specific issue, and that's to get our United States Congress off their butts and enacting laws now. Not next year, not the year after that, now. And you know, I gotta tell you, they all thought that a week after Newtown, it'll just leave everyone's mind.
No.
Not this time. Didn't happen, did it?
No.
It hasn't left anyone's mind. Just as I said, all the parents that write me, that drop the kids off at school every day, it's on everyone's mind. And to the politicians, and if there's any elected official who might actually be watching this, we haven't forgotten, and we're not going to forget this time. We actually feel pretty bad that we let Columbine just go by and went on to our other problems, that we let Virginia Tech go by, that we let Aurora go by, and on and on and on. And the people here tonight are gathered here, and you at home need to speak with a loud and clear voice to our Congress that we are not going to stop thinking about this. We're actually going to start acting on it. We want change, and we want it now. We don't want incremental change. We want real change that will reduce gun violence in this country. So we up here on the stage, and I'm going to turn it over to these guys in a second here. We've come up with 3 things that we would like you to do tonight. Those of you sitting here in the theater, and those of you at home watching this. And so if you could get out either your cell phone, iPhone, BlackBerry, if you're at home and you're on a laptop, whatever computer device you have. We were very impressed with the responses, as I said at the beginning of the movie here tonight, where so many people sent a Twitter message to Senator Harry Reid. He came out on Tuesday and said, we're not going to have the assault ban vote. We're just not going to do it. Because we don't have the numbers, and they'll just filibuster us, and I don't, people will have to stand and talk for like hours, and we'll have to sit there and listen, and I mean, right? How many times have we had to watch Democrats without a spine stand there and behave like that? We are sick and tired of it. And so I asked on the show the other night that millions of people sent a message to Harry Reid. That happened, others joined in, other people on other networks joined in, you joined in, and within 48 hours, he said he's going to allow a vote on the assault weapons ban. So, he will continue to try and dance around it, because he won't put it in the big bill. He's going to just allow an amendment vote. But we have to stay on him, and of course, the 100% of the Republicans who are committed to not making any of these changes. But they're representatives of the people, and I think they like to get reelected. And we have to make sure that they know that they won't be reelected if they continue down this road of ignoring Newtown and all these other tragic events. So, our little committee here and the other good people that move on, this is what we're going to do. It's very simple. There's about, I think right now, 6 Democratic senators who said that they will not vote to ban assault weapons. They will join with the Republicans. There may be even a few more. And so we thought tonight, well, should we try and get a hold of all of them tonight while we're here? It's a Saturday night. They're on recess now. They're all gone from DC. But that makes it actually better because all of you watching at home, that means all of your congressional representatives and the senators are all home this week. They're all there. They're back in Michigan and Montana and California and every place else. And what better time, as we learned from the Tea Party a couple of years ago, than to go and visit your representative while they're vacationing at home, hopefully vacationing at home. So we thought we'd just pick one senator tonight, someone that we've actually thought good things about in the past, who's done good things and seems to be a man of conscience and has come down on the wrong side of this bill. His name is Jon Tester. He's the senator from Montana. Maybe you've seen him on TV. He's a progressive Democrat from Montana. He's done a lot of good things, but on this issue, he probably, like a lot of people in certain states, are afraid that they're not going to get reelected if they take this stand. They need to know that the NRA is the minority and we are the majority. So here's what we'd like you to do. We'll put up our first card up here on the screen. I think you can see this at home. The people in here can see it. Those of you who are on Twitter right now, let's send a tweet to Jon Tester of Montana. I'll give you his address. It's @Jon, and it's Jon, not John. @Jon Tester, Tester. All right, let's send him. Who can do Twitter here with their device? Yes, okay. Everybody that has color in their hair. Okay. Or some hair. All right. For those of you watching at home, do not be afraid. Twitter will not hurt you. But if you could go on Twitter now, if you haven't signed up for Twitter, it'll take you 2 seconds. But let's send a specific message to him right now that says, we demand that you support the efforts to ban assault weapons in the United States of America. Let's just take a second right now and do that. And we'll play the elevator music while you're doing that. Just take it. Pardon me?
Put a period before the at and it goes to everybody that follows them.
Put a period before the at of Jon Tester. Did I hear her right?
No, I don't.
Period before the at and it goes to all his followers.
If you put a period before the at, it will go to all of his followers.
Is that true like for me too?
Yes.
Oh my God, don't tell everybody that. Oh no. Yes, like I said, all you have to write is @Jon Tester. No, and if you want all his followers, that would be his constituents to get this too. Put a period before the @ symbol. So period @Jon Tester, JONTESTER, and say, Senator Tester, we demand that you back the bill banning assault weapons in this country. Simple, one sentence. That's all he needs to see. And those of you at home, please do this right now. Ask people to do it tomorrow, do it over the weekend. Wouldn't it be great if he had a million Twitter messages in his box by Monday morning? Let's do this. I mean, right? I mean, he's one we can convince. And there's others on MoveOn's website. And if you sign up for that website, you'll get messages from them this week of the other things we're planning to do. Now, okay, has everybody done that to Jon Tester?
Wait, what is it again? What did you say?
Mom! It's period, @ symbol, Jon Tester, JONTESTER. The message is, Senator Tester, we demand that you support the bill to ban assault weapons in this country. Look, don't use my exact, I mean, it's better that he gets different.
Universal background check.
And universal, but yes, the whole kit and caboodle. But that's That's the hard one, it seems, right now, is the assault weapons ban and the ban on the large magazine. Oh, the hashtag, yes, put the hashtag on this so other people can see it too. So you put the hashtag symbol, and then it's BFC, as in Bowling for Columbine, BFC question. The word question, not the question mark. Hashtag BFC question. That's Q-U-E-S-T-I. All right, we set with that? Can we go on to number 2 here? Hey, don't change the slide yet, because the second part of this is for you to now do this to your local member of Congress. And you can do it on Twitter, and you can find out their Twitter address by going to the website address that you see up here. Is there up here? The tiny URL? Yeah, they're all, my head's blocking. Can you see it?
Call it out.
Okay, I'll read it, but I'll read it slow. It's http://bit.ly/members of Congress. And I believe that comes from the C-SPAN website. It has all the Twitter addresses. So if you didn't get that, or if you didn't do it right, later you can go to C-SPAN's site, or you go to MoveOn's site or my site, and that
page doesn't exist.
that page doesn't exist. It's doing what? Even if you're already on Twitter, it's asking you to sign into Twitter. Wow, it was working before the movie started. What could have happened? Okay, so the MoveOn people are working on this right now in the back, and we will find our way around that and give you the right site here. Oh, but it works for some of you. But who got through and sees it? You see the list of members of Congress and their Twitter addresses? Can you provide any help to the people? Just pretend you're the Geek Squad from Best Buy over here. And can you help this side of the room? Any advice you want to give them? What they're getting is either the main C-SPAN website or this site doesn't exist.
I was signed into Twitter.
Yeah, when it says this site doesn't exist, it's trying to get you. Yeah, not everyone.
Okay. Okay, so listen, if it works for you, do it tonight. Otherwise, tomorrow, MoveOn.org will have it up on their site, and it'll be like a really plain list with all the Twitter addresses. But you've got to send it to your local representative at their address, not just these a few senators that we're trying to convince. All right, slide number 2. All right, so this is what we want to do. We want everybody watching tonight, and people in here, you can do this, maybe when you go home, you can start it now if you want. But write down 8 to 10 names of people that you would like to have. We want to encourage you to form your own little PAC. All right, not the PACs like all these, Citizens United business, but maybe it's just the people on your block. Maybe it's the people at work. Maybe it's students in a class or whatever. But we think that if you can form your own group, and we don't have to think of this as a massive thing, just 10 people. 10 people. If the 100,000 people who are going to watch this tonight across the 4 time zones, each did this with 10 people, well, 10 times 100,000, now we've got 1 million. So we really want to encourage you to do this and to form this with people you know. And especially try to include people that maybe aren't necessarily political people. Because if you've talked to people about this issue since Newtown, there's not much dissension or disagreement, is there? When you bring this up at work or school or whatever. So invite them to become part of your own community committee against gun violence. And you can go to the MoveOn.org website, which is moveon.org, and then /end gun violence. End Gun Violence. MoveOn.org/End Gun Violence. And there'll be helpful tips for you there over the next few days on how you can form your local group in your town. It's hard to be living in a place like, Boise, Idaho. You sit there and you go, what can I do here? I got these 2 senators, I got this crazy Republican congressman, what can I do? There's a lot of things that we can collectively do together, but we're so defeated by this issue because for how many umpteen decades now have we tried to get things through, and the NRA has blocked this. We need to understand that we are bigger than the NRA. They may have more money, but we have the numbers. And then the third thing we'd like you to do tonight, actually to do it on Monday, when your district representative, your congressional representative office opens, is to call them at their local number. Do not call the DC number. Call the local number. I've had congressmen tell me that 100 calls to their DC office has nowhere near the impact of 20 calls to their local office. Make the call to the local, and plus they're home this week. So make the call to the local office of your elected congressional representative and your senators. Call them on Monday. We want to see thousands of phone calls happening across the country. This does have impact. These things work, but only when massive numbers of people do it. So we're inviting you to do this tonight. We're asking you to join us and do this. And now I want to be quiet and let people here say a few words, and then we'll take your questions. So thank you for doing these 3 things, okay? And thank you at home for doing it. Well, Rob, why don't we start with you? Rob, of course, his cousin was Laura, who was killed in Nevada City, California. So you've been speaking, you've been doing lobbying, you've been helping different groups to do something in the last decade. After Newtown, what do you think now is the thing that we can do that will get these laws passed? And how hopeful are you?
I'm incredibly hopeful. I'm more hopeful now than in the 12 years that I've been involved in this movement. And I think it's because there's been a long period of silence over the 2000s when things honestly legislatively got worse. And the culture that Michael talks about in the film was made more violent by the NRA and their agenda. One of the things they did, as everyone knows, was encourage everyone to carry a concealed weapon, because their answer to gun violence was more guns. And their answer to a tense situation was to stand your ground, so that your very worst impulse became your first reaction. Those are the things they did. Not only did that, they immunized the gun manufacturers and the gun dealers from being subject to legal lawsuits.
What other industries are federally, where the citizens are prohibited from suing an industry for, say, something that caused harm or death?
There's only one.
It is just guns, isn't it?
It's just
That's what I
guns.
thought, yeah.
And the other thing that guns have been able to do is that there's only 2 industries where the Consumer Product Safety Commission is not allowed to regulate them for child safety. One is guns, and the other is tobacco.
That's good.
But I think after this time period where it was hard and we did see this kind of change towards the NRA, what we've seen since Virginia Tech, and then Aurora, and then Oak Creek, then Newtown, is you've seen people say enough. And I think we're all here in this room together, and there's people watching who have said enough. They say,
people have had it.
they say, I don't think that it makes sense to be able to sell a gun without a background check. I don't think anyone should be able to walk into a store and get a military-style assault weapon in a 100-round clip. And then the question is, well, why aren't we going to do anything about it? Why are the senators and Congress people so scared? Well, the answer, I think, as Michael pointed out in the film, is pretty simple. They're the moneyed lobbyists standing behind these congressmen, pushing them to do the wrong thing. Why will that change? Because there's 4 million NRA members, there's a handful of gun manufacturers, and there's hundreds of millions of us who said, no longer am I going to see my loved one's gunned down. No longer am I going to drop my kids off and be afraid.
Thanks, Rob. Garland, what do you, now, Garland, of course, is one of the top people at MoveOn.org. You guys have been involved in many issues before, been very successful in organizing millions of people and getting them out. And you know, we are a different country in many good ways than we were 10 or 12 years ago. And I give a lot of credit to Move On for that. What are you going to do now, though, to lead this movement? Because we don't have an organization like the NRA. We don't have something as massive and as well funded as that. There's nothing comparable to that on our side. And so, you're it.
Well, first off, thank you to all the Move On members who are here in this room and who have been participating online through activity and action over years and years and years. That power inspires me to believe that we can win this battle. We can win this debate. We can beat the NRA. We can beat the gun manufacturers. We can beat all these people. And the way that we can do it, conversations matter. Conversations that happen in living rooms matter. People organizing one another, that's what Move On's all about. And this gun violence prevention movement that has really sprung to a different level since Newtown, that has been activated time after time after time, tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, will continue to grow as long as we continue to work together with one another. The conversations we're asking people to have in their living rooms, to start these community committees against gun violence, they lead to real victories. We've had real victories at the local level and at the state level all across the country. The state of Colorado just passed some of the most important gun violence prevention legislation that's been passed anywhere in the country. That's in Colorado. That was unthinkable 6 months ago. 6 months ago, that was unthinkable. We can make the impossible possible. Things become possible when people take action. We have Move On members that have organized in extraordinary ways. Take, for example, a group in Tucson, Arizona, that got their city in Arizona to ban gun shows that don't guarantee background checks. That's because people organized. That's because they said, you know what, this is the last time I want to wake up and see some tragedy on the news. This is the last time I want to be related to a person that was hurt by gun violence. Culture and politics influence one another, and we can change both. So Move On members have stepped up. We've joined this vibrant and powerful gun violence prevention movement. We're happy to be a part of it, and Move On members are going to continue to fight in that struggle.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Can you also tell people what happened in Chicago a couple weeks ago? There was a special congressional election for Jesse Jackson's Jr.'s seat, and the candidate, the Democrat, was in the lead and had the 100% backing of the NRA. Can you just tell us what happened there?
Absolutely. So there was a special election in Chicago for Representative Jesse Jackson Jr.'s congressional seat in Illinois 2nd District. And there were a lot of Democrats running for that seat, but two in particular had the highest possible rating for the NRA. And to tell you what that means is that every time the NRA had a policy position, that politician had the same policy position. Well, a lot of groups thought that the NRA shouldn't be winning elections after Newtown. The NRA shouldn't be winning elections, period, but especially after such a tragedy. So people came together in Chicago, in Illinois 2nd District, and all over the country to say we weren't going to let the NRA win another election. And that worked. That worked. The group like Americans Against Legal Guns, the Brady Campaign, Move On members in the district and across the country stepped up and said, we're going to do everything we can. We're going to provide muscle. We're going to provide volunteers. People raised money. People donated money to make sure that the NRA lost their first election since Newtown, their first election since 2013.
And Mayor Bloomberg has pledged his entire bank account for this effort. Is that correct? I heard something about that, or is that?
I haven't heard that, but you can probably call them and find out.
Well, don't give me an idea like that, because we have lots of phones in here and we're live, so I guess I'm going to think about this while we go to the next person. Lori Haas, your daughter, a hero there on that day at Virginia Tech. You have been very active and very busy. The grief and sadness and depression and everything that certainly accompanies any parent whose child is wounded or killed in an event like this. Well, most of us can't imagine it. I can, it's just can't imagine it. What has, tell the crowd, because we were talking backstage here about what you've been doing and what your group has been doing.
Hello. I think I don't have. Yeah. Hello. I'm honored and humbled to be here with this group on this stage. I am been working on gun violence prevention since the tragedy at Virginia Tech. There were 32 families whose loved ones were killed. They weren't lost. They were killed because someone had access to a firearm that shouldn't have. He had been adjudicated mentally ill and he shouldn't have been able to buy a firearm. 17 other students were injured and shot, including my daughter, and 7 were injured jumping out the window, facing the gunman coming through the door or jumping out a second-story window. I've been working on this issue since then. I now work for the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence. I am absolutely convinced that there has been a monumental shift in the commitment, the attitude, and the frustration, and the we will have no more attitude of American people on this issue. I have always felt that I was in the majority, clearly in the majority. Who wouldn't do whatever it takes to stop gun violence? Who would want their family member to get that phone call, come pick up your dead child? You know, it is atrocious in this country that we live in a culture, as Michael has suggested, a culture that allows children to murder children. It's astonishing to me. It's unacceptable. And you know, I will do anything and everything I can to stop the gun violence that permeates every fabric of society. It's everywhere. You know, it's people killing themselves, people killing their neighbors. Can't go to a grocery store, a movie theater, college campus, and now an elementary school without fear of being mowed down by somebody who should not have access to firearms. You know, the difference in these cultures in these developed countries is clearly the access to firearms by people who are dangerous, by criminals and terrorists and domestic abusers. In states across America where we have closed the private sale loophole, i.e. we require background check on all buyers, domestic violence by intimate partners has been reduced 38%. Now, how many women's lives have been saved because we require a simple background check? Suicides in those states have gone down 49%. It is clearly working. When you do a background check on all buyers, you're stopping dangerous individuals, criminals, and those who would do harm to others. We have got to do a better job. We have got to care more about our fellow man. We've got to care that we have allowed this culture to permeate. And I would just like to say one more thing about the NRA and the myth, you know, of their influence. We can puncture that myth. Michael is correct. It's 4 million. And frankly, 3 out of 4 of those members want to have a background check on all buyers. They're with us. Responsible gun owners understand the responsibility of having a lethal weapon in their hands and what it can do in the wrong hands. In a state like Virginia, we're purple. We're as purple as it gets. A candidate can win. Tim Kaine ran for mayor, ran for lieutenant governor, ran for governor, and ran for the state, U.S. Senate with an F rating from the NRA and won every elected office he attended.
In Virginia.
In Virginia. Imagine that. The NRA spent $700,000 against Tim Kaine, and it didn't work. We know we're on the moral side of this issue. We know what it takes to stop people from killing our children, killing our neighbors, killing our friends, killing our co-workers. So let's get it done, and let's everybody in this audience, everybody listening, everybody watching, please raise your voice. We can no longer be the silent majority. We have to be the very, very loud majority. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Jamie, moms demand action. I'm just going to throw you just a question that's been on my mind for some time since I made this movie. It was after we left the edit room, and we were tired. We just had to get the film done because we had to get to the Cannes Film Festival. And after it was finished, a few months later, every time I see the film, the question is in my head, and I think, why didn't I put this in there? It's probably, well, I'm a guy, maybe, that might be some of it, but, I think I'm a decent kind of guy. But how come with all of these gun shootings, these massacres, how come we never see a woman go into a school, a mall, a church, a store, a workplace, and just spray bullets all over the place? Because, we're the minority, us guys, we're like 48, 49% of the population, we're 51%, and yet there's just some weird thing about this, why women don't do this. And when we leave here tonight, if you're gonna walk down a dark street tonight, and, we're in New York City, maybe your radar's up a little bit, you gotta be, you're cautious. What are we thinking in our heads? What are we trying to be cautious of? Do we imagine a woman's going to jump out of the bushes and hurt us, shoot us? It's not that, is it? And this gender part of this, I don't know, it never gets raised. It wasn't raised by me. And your mom's group, it's like, why do I feel completely safe that no mom is going to shoot me?
Not sure I can answer that question.
All right, let's turn it over to the audience.
We're a very nice group of moms. We do not harm people generally. I can tell you that this is very much an issue, not just for moms, but women in general. I saw a statistic recently that women are 5 times more likely to be killed by their abusers if there is a gun in the house. It's appalling to me that domestic abusers can so easily access weapons in this country. There was a great article in the New York Times recently showing that when judges issue restraining orders against usually men in these situations, they are allowed federally to have the people turn in their firearms, which seems to make a good deal of sense if a woman is fearing for her life. They don't do that. Judges in most states do not do that. And it's appalling to me. In the same way, Newtown is just appalling isn't even a word. There's not a word for what happened there. Our group is different than some of the other groups up here in that we are very new. We formed by a mom in Indiana who started a Facebook page the day after what happened in Sandy Hook. And she didn't think anything. I mean, she was just looking for like-minded mothers. And she didn't know what would come of it. And we now have 80,000 members, 38 chapters around the country.
A mom in Indiana started this.
A mom in Indiana started this too.
How many chapters?
I think 38 states, I'm sorry. But there
Wow.
are many, many more chapters in 38 states around the country.
38 states.
Including South Carolina, including North Dakota, Montana, places where you wouldn't necessarily expect them to be popping up. And that's been one of the most interesting things we've learned is that most of us are accidental activists. I've never done anything like this before in my life. None of the other moms, most of the other moms haven't done anything
Not
like this
political
before.
people.
No. And we were very moved and motivated by what happened in Newtown. As mothers, it's horrifying to imagine that your kids you can drop your kids off at school and you may not be able to take them home. It's just beyond unacceptable and it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. And I think a lot of people like me couldn't function in the days after that event. I have a 4.5-year-old who goes to an elementary school and I could not function until I got involved.
Anybody else have that same feeling, or know people that.
And that's what's been so incredible is that we've been able to reach so many women mostly, although we do have a dad's chapter as well around the country, we've been able to reach so many people. And I encourage other parents who want to get involved to check out our website. It's momsdemandaction.org. We have a similar mission in terms of getting people to act. We want people to act. So we will make it easy for you. We'll send you an email. We'll tell you who to tweet, who to call, who to email, who to knock on their door and show up in their office.
Thank you for creating this movement. I mean, you're a friend in Indiana. I think this is the key. I think moms, and especially people who have not been political, people who just want to drop their kid off at school and feel safe. I think that the power that you have, that all mothers have, and dads in this country, far, far supersedes whatever the NRA thinks that they have in terms of power.
There are 80 million mothers in this country as compared to the 4 million members of the NRA.
Wow. Still doesn't answer my question, if there's 80 million moms, why they're saying, I just,
Dollars,
what is it?
money.
Yeah, well, we're going to turn it over to the audience here, some questions, and you at home, you can tweet your questions to us. Actually, if you use the hashtag, again, DFC question, we'll be able to pull that up on the internet.
I have a question for you from the Twitter feed.
Oh, we'll start with, where's it from?
This is from @Team Centerville 4M. I don't know what that is, but the question is, the NRA has a huge educational program to defend its position. Why can't the rest of us also develop a program against gun violence, an educational program against gun violence?
Who wants to take that?
There are literally dozens of programs out there and available to the general public by many, many organizations. You know, despite the fact that we don't have a single organization, there is collaboration, cooperation, and commitment from many organizations. There's MoveOn.org, there's the Mayors Against Illegal Guns, there is the States United to Prevent Gun Violence, there's Moms Demand Action, there's my organization, the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, there's the Brady Center, the granddaddy, you know, who's been around for a number of years. Every single organization has a website, has action kits, they have call kits, they have letter writing kits, they have educational tools and resources to tell you some of the statistics in this country. You know, where we have 12,000 persons murdered annually. And those states, some of those statistics that I just suggested, that, you know, the policies that reduce gun violence. So there is available to anybody in this room and watching as much information as you need or want. And if there's a question you can't find answered, go to www.csgv.org. That's the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence. And they will put you in touch with me personally, and I'll answer your question.
We have, we also, I just want to point out that we have some residents of Newtown in the audience here in New York tonight, and we've left it up to them. Yes, thank you to those of you that are here. And we've left it up to you whether, if you want to say something or pose a question or suggest something to the people across the country who are watching, that you're welcome to. And if not, we completely understand. So, who's our next question? From the audience here? Hello.
I thank you so much for what you're doing about this. I'm bringing up something that today we're not ready to focus on because I support what we're focusing on today, the legislative approach. But you said something that gave me some hope about another topic that President Obama also said after Newtown, the words mental health. You said it today, and I want to know what you meant. You wanted to see more mental health services available to people. I'm a clinical psychologist in New York City, and that's what I've been thinking about ever since Newtown. It's very complicated, and I don't have any concrete suggestions this minute, but we are not dealing with the mental health problems of the United States. I want to be very clear that I don't want us to think of stigmatizing the mentally ill. In my practice in New York City, I work with people with all kinds of difficulties, some of whom are severely mentally ill and would not like to hurt a fly.
Right.
And they just need help.
Right,
Yeah.
and saying we need to fix the mental illness problem is actually part of the talking points of the NRA. That's how they want to deflect it, the issue. And I
know
think,
that.
yes, and I think it should be pointed out that the man, I don't like to mention any of the names of these killers. For whatever reason, they think that they hope that they'll be remembered for what they did. I don't want them ever to be remembered for at least who they are. But they, the man who killed the kids and the teachers in Newtown, you know, his dad is the vice president of General Electric. And he was getting help, therapy. So again, just like with these other things we're talking about here tonight, no one thing is going to stop this
Right.
problem
Absolutely.
in this country that we live in.
Right.
And, but we don't want to not do something because it won't be the answer. And I think that, you know, when our universal health care, which we still don't have,
Right.
as good as many of the provisions are in Mr. Obama's bill, but mental just gets left out of the discussion.
Every time.
Every time, and that has to change.
Benefits and
But-
insurance policies
Yes.
are being cut back on mental health all the time. I'm sure everybody in this audience knows
Yes,
that their coverage is minimal for
Yes.
mental health and getting aggressively attacked when you make a claim. So we need to remember it. I don't want to derail this conversation.
no,
because
we're
this is a
gonna run
very
out of
good-
time here because they're gonna cut us off
This
on
is
the
a good
internet.
conversation,
Yeah.
and I'm
So
going to
let's
sit
have it,
down.
but I agree.
That's, okay,
No, I know.
so please
You know-
don't forget this issue. That's all I'm asking today, okay?
Can I just
Thank
make
you.
one quick
Yes.
comment? Clearly, when the NRA uses that term, they're just throwing a vast number of Americans under the bus. The majority of persons who with diagnosed mental illness will not become violent and have not become violent. So to suggest that this problem is based on some sort of mental illness is just disingenuous, and I resent it, frankly. And I think that the focus should be on the access to the firearm. Not that this situation is to be ignored. We need to do a better job in this country of taking care of people who need help. But let's be clear, it is not mentally ill people who are causing gun violence.
I would like to pick it up a notch. Everything that you're saying is true, necessary, and needs to be dealt with. What are we doing as a nation? What are we doing as a nation? I voted for Barack Obama, as most of the American people did, because we believe in change. We believe that things can be better and that it can be better for humankind. Targeted assassination. I understand that there is a kill list, and without any consultation with any of us, with Congress, their people who are alleged enemies are targeted. This is insanity. Immoral, illegal, all of these things. If we don't have ethical leadership at the top, I'm thinking Fort Benning, Georgia, School of Assassins. What have we been doing this whole century?
I agree. That's one of the main points in the film. Until we change that larger part of who we are, we're still going to have this problem. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, let's move it quickly.
Thanks, Michael, for making the movie and all the others. I just wanted to kind of shed light on the fear factor that you raised in Bowling Columbine very quickly. And I just want everyone in here to realize that the apathy that we have had towards gun violence has a lot to do with the psychology of crime and how we perceive crime. And with that said, when we perceive criminals as a certain race of people and other people as not, that's how we start to look at gun violence in a divided way. And we need to look at it from the point that we have lost victims, little black victims, little white victims, little Latino victims. We are losing the potential of America, and that's the way we need to look at it.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I just want to raise a question that doesn't seem to come up, so I'm going to bring it up. We are doing terrible violence abroad with weapons, and our cops are very heavily armed against us. And when we talk about a ban on assault weapons, I wonder why no one seems to raise the issue of we ought to ban the production of such weapons. It's not any worse to use them. I mean, if it's okay to use them on kids, if it's bad to use them on kids in the United States, why isn't it bad to use it on kids in Afghanistan and Iraq and Nicaragua and other places where they're used? And I think we should raise that. Our moral ground goes away from us if we only want them banned for American kids. I think we need to take the whole arms industry on that level. Nobody needs weapons like that.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Heather Harrington, and my question is to you, when can you do something like you did at Kmart? I'm jealous of your power. I meant that you went in there and you brought them there, and
No, actually, I failed. If you remember, I went there with them, and they gave us the runaround for hours, and we left, and we thought, well, that's that. And then one of the kids said, why don't we just call the media?
I know.
And no, but that's what I'm saying, though, is that there was all those other those cameras are very powerful.
they are, but you can be and you know what I mean, when somebody, I feel like the power of that, you got the ball rolling, but then they were there and it put the pressure.
Well, I hope that sometimes it gives people ideas. If they see something in the film like that, they'll go and do something like that, or come up with their own creative idea of what to do. And I'm just one guy, but I'm sure everybody in here has some really great ideas you could do. Film it. This was great about, there was no YouTube when I made this
Yeah.
in 2002. Right? There was none of the social media. There was a little, I don't know, Google didn't, I don't think even existed, did it? In 2002? 2001, 2002? Yeah, just for a few lucky people in the Bay Area. So, no, you're right. But now,
But it was just
I'm just saying anybody can make your own YouTube. You could go and mess with the gun manufacturers. You can go to Newtown, Connecticut, which is the national headquarters of the lobbying organization for all the gun manufacturers in America. Do you know this? The national headquarters it's called the National Gun Manufacturers Association. NSSF. What they call shooting sports. They're national headquarters, and they're the top lobbyists for the manufacturers. They're like, so NRA is like number one, this group's number two, headquarters, Newtown, Connecticut. So, I mean, there's many ideas and things that I think everybody in here and people watching at home could do. Put it on YouTube.
I don't want you to feel like you don't have power.
I mean, I just want to say, I joined every organization I've done, but when I see that, I see the film and I see the media attention, I'm like, images, things like of that sort, people don't want that PR. But how do I organize that?
You can do it.
So what I'm suggesting is that the victories that we've won on every issue, gun violence included, have happened because people have owned the power, they've owned their voice. They went and told their story directly to the powers that be in whatever issue area they're fighting. So the students that joined Michael at Kmart, that's one example. The Move On members in Western Virginia who joined Lori and others to protest at the NRA on the 14th of every month. The Move On members in South Carolina who come together to advocate against Senator Lindsey Graham on his stances on gun violence. These are people that have all regular people like you and I that have owned their power. And we can make a difference. And so I appreciate Michael's work as well. But we all can do the same and even more by owning the power that we have. Just want everyone to remember that.
Plus, I want to make some romantic comedies. So I see some of our friends are here from Newtown.
Hello. I watched Bowling for Columbine in Australia 10 years ago. And when it came for my husband and I, my family, my two boys to move to the States from Australia, it was very much on my mind. It was one of the first things I thought about when we were going to choose a place to live. Was actually this very movie, Bowling for Columbine. Because in Australia, even the movie said, in 1996 there was a horrible massacre, but our Conservative government had sweeping changes within 8 weeks. Ban on all semi-automatic rifles, ban on universal background checks, instituted 28-day waiting periods, and since that date, prior to that date of 1996, there had been 13 mass incidents in Australia within the last prior 18 years. Since 1996, not one mass incident in Australia. And the death by gun rate has dropped 50%, the death by gun suicide rate has dropped by 50% since then. So when we were moving to the States, as I said, this movie was on my mind for the safety of my children. And so I looked and I spent a year searching and researching for what I believe was try to find that one place in America that would be immune to this problem. And I did an ungodly amount of research. I talked on web chats with other mothers, to find the place that I thought had the best schools and the safest area. And I found that place to be Newtown, Connecticut. And it did. It had the lowest crime rate, just absolutely insignificant, and wonderful, wonderful schools. So when we woke up that morning to an email alert from our school district telling us that one of the schools had a shooter in our district, not even telling us which school, and we had 2 boys in the school system. It was the most ironic, unbelievable experience of my worst nightmare coming to life. And in the days after, I realised that if this could happen in Newtown, really it can happen in any town in America, because having lived in Newtown, it is the least likely town. It is the most wonderful community, the safest area, culturally, rich, just close community, people that would do anything for you. And when I realised that, I realised that, again, I'm not a political person. I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, I love the arts. I believe that changing people was through education, and that is true, and I still believe that. But there has to be a minimum of protection provided legislatively in every developed country in the world, including this one. And that is why we, my husband and I, prior to 1214, as we call it, we don't call it Newtown because Newtown's the town we love, we call it 1214. Prior to that date, I'd never signed a petition, I'd never marched in a march, I'd never gone to a rally, I'd never written to a senator. Since 1214, I've done all those things multiple times. And enough is enough. And everyone we speak to says the same. And it's so true, as Michael has said. We are in the majority, and if we speak up, we will be heard. And there's midterms coming, and I really, would like to warn America's congressmen and senators that the majority, look at the polls. You're in a bubble in Washington. We went to Washington. We personally went and spoke to senators with another group from Newtown called Newtown Action that we've joined. And they're in a bubble, and they don't realise the tide has turned. And if they don't do something now and this year, they will not be there next year to do anything else.
Thank you very much. Very powerful. Thank you for coming down here and sharing that with us. I think we're out of time here. I'm sorry, do we have another internet question? Or? Yeah, one more person. Okay, we'll take one more internet question here.
My name is Jeff Merritt. I work for New York City Public Advocate Bill de Blasio and with a great grassroots group called Occupy the NRA. And I want to echo the points here about that we do have tremendous power, everyone here, and we have to look at the source of the money behind the gun industry. And I encourage you, one of the things that we started to do is we looked at public pension funds, and we found that here in New York we had $18 million invested in these gun companies. And we said, no, we're taking that money out, and we did. California has done the same, Chicago has done the same, Philadelphia has. And you should look at where the money is, look at your investments. You can go to a website that is wallstreetforchange.com. You can see some of the nation's largest institutional investors and also hedge funds that are holding millions and millions of dollars in money and that are profiting off of this tragedy. And Occupy the NRA will be doing a number of actions in the weeks and months ahead to make sure that those hedge funds understand that this is blood money and that they need to pull their money out of these industries as well until changes are made.
Thank you so much for doing that. That's a great idea. Okay, we are out of time. I'm so sorry, Garland. Right, we should start to it's because the theater has to be cleared. Laura, did you want to just close out here? And I'll just say thanks to everybody, myself, for coming here, and let's leave committed to act. Go ahead.
Just thank you for coming, and also thank you for supporting. I feel like nights like this are so important, where people can get together and share their energy and share their commitment. And culture is important. Maybe make some more films. If Michael wants to make romantic comedy, maybe you should make the next film. But we have to find a way to engage together like this, and I'm just so happy everyone came out tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you everybody across America who's watching.